Okay. So, welcome folks to the first of a series of Port Stephens Live. This is the biggest marine park in New South Wales. In fact, it's the biggest marine park south of the Great Barrier Reef, which is the world's largest marine park. So we're engaging in the first virtual cruise. It's called Port Stephens Live, and we intend to broadcast these live at least once a week if we can on different activities and wonderful things you can see and do and stay in Port Stephens when you're allowed to come here. So we haven't been operating for 5 weeks now. We don't have any passengers on board, sadly, but we have our camera crew, Shakti, Brent and Wesley, and Roger and I are crewing the vessel, so we're the crew. So over on and social distancing, we're going to be at least 1.5 miles apart. We're going to be 1.5 meters apart. Roger's over there miles away, Wesley's up the foredeck, Brent's down here, and Shakti's behind a good distance away. Now, common to all marine parks, folks, there are different zones, and we're just entering into the Fly Point Sanctuary Zone. Now, sanctuary zones are at the business end of conservation in marine parks, and you're not allowed to go fishing in a sanctuary zone unless you're a dolphin. So Wesley's just filming that right now. This is the Fly Point Sanctuary Zone, and fantastic for diving and snorkeling, but no fishing. Can't take anything out of these. They're designed, in all marine parks have sanctuary zones, and the idea of a sanctuary zone is to give the maximum protection for the marine life to exist in its normal form without interruption from us humans. And it protects the habitat, so you have little bits of sandy beach, rocky foreshore, which we're looking at here, some sandy beach over there at Little Beach, and some fantastic views. Did you switch over to Wesley on any of that? That's Nelson Head up there, where Marine Rescue are. These are fantastic bunch of guys and girls that sit up there 24/7. They monitor very closely with the government authorities, RMS and the Water Police, but they have their own vessels in the port, and as I say, they have rescued, literally done thousands of rescues over the time we've been going with Imagine. So, welcome to Imagine too, by the way. I should have mentioned that this is the cruise vessel Imagine. We've been operating for 25 years, quarter of a century. We built this boat 25 years ago, 1994. 9 months it took to build. That's like giving birth. Never worked so hard in all my life. What a perfect day. Alright, so Port Stephens is home to over 100 bottlenose dolphin that are residents to the port, and we're going to go and see whether we can find some. Alright, so the dolphins of Port Stephens use all of the waters of the port, but there are some hot spots. So we're going to go and check out some of those hot spots, and then maybe later on we'll head out offshore and see whether we can find some short-beaked common dolphin, and we might even find a humpback whale. I just realised it's probably a good idea to let locals know that the boat ramps are going to be opened up very soon. Just to locals though. So we're a bit spoiled here as locals. So we should pay our respect to the traditional owners of Port Stephens. Although the port was discovered by Captain James Cook and named by James Cook late in the afternoon on the 11th of May 1770, it was the Warramai that walked into this flooding volcanic river valley over 12,000 years ago. That's a long time, I don't remember that. But they came in, and of course the bay didn't look like it does today because the sea level was about 50 metres lower. So the bay didn't exist. Technically it's a flooded volcanic river valley. So looking out towards the heads there, there's Yakabar. Yakabar, the highest of the volcanic peaks in the area. Yakabar, and then Tomaree down to the south. Offshore, that long, low, rocky island looks a bit like Uluru, or Ayers Rock, is called Bundlebar, and of course they're all names given by the Warramai. Warramai and their elders, past and present and emerging, are the traditional landowners of Port Stephens. Happy to say I've got some very good Warramai friends. So we're heading over towards a little community known as Windawappa. I guess that's probably a Warramai term, I don't know what it means. It probably means bloody windy place. Okay, so over on our left side there are some seagrass beds. Now that darker greeny blue water on our port side there is reflecting what's growing on the bottom, and in this case it's called seagrass, mainly Posidonia australis. Now one of the reasons why Port Stephens is so important is that it has enormous amount of great habitat, seagrass being probably the primary habitat for marine life, particularly the fish we like to eat. So even fish that spend most of their lives out in the open ocean, he doesn't look very well.
What was it?
It's a mutton bird. Hey Brent, I think we might have to do a rescue. We have a mutton bird that's rather sick in the water. So Fred, grab a towel from down below. Now mutton birds or shearwaters are very common in the waters of Port Stephens. Most of them though are here. That's why you've got the towel. So just take the...
You got it?
Got it?
Yep.
Wrap him up. Well done, guys. Poor little guy. So, hey. That's it. Just cover him up with that. So it's a short-tailed shearwater, and It's probably his maiden flight and he didn't make it. Anyway, we'll take him ashore and we might have to give him the wires, but usually once they've recovered a bit from their trauma and they've had a little bit of tucker and some water, he'll probably be okay and he'll fly away. So they're all flying from Broughton Island, has over 100,000 nesting pair of these little birds, and they're as cute as. And he would have died in the water there. It would have been shark bait, and we'll give them a second chance. Everyone deserves a second chance. All right, let's keep going. Well, that's exciting. Well done, Fred. Nah, well, I don't think so. Now, let's see what else we can find. Amazing how well he was swimming. Better than he was flying anyway. So off in front of us is one of the entrances of the Mile River. So Port Stephens is a marine park, 98,000 hectares. It includes the eastern port where we are, the western port, that's to the west of Soldiers Point, and the two river systems, the Mile and the Karua River. So we're heading up into the what's called the shortcut. So the estuary of the Mile River has a large island in front of it, right in its entrance, called Corrie Island, and it's part of what's called a Ramsar wetland. Now there's a lot of the national park to the north of us. The Mile Lakes National Park is under this international listing called Ramsar, and it's very important because it's largely an area where it's been identified that a lot of migratory ground nesting seabirds come. Those wetland birds, often flying in from as far as Siberia and Japan. We even have some birds that fly down from the Bering Sea to the northwest of Alaska. So massive migrations of birds that come down to Australia to breed during summer, and then around this time of the year they're usually flying back to their feeding sites. Because of global warming, climate change, we have seen a lot of changes to not just sea temperature, but it does affect migratory birds and fish, of course. We've started to see quite a lot of tropical fish this time of the year. Sea temperature here is still 21.6 degrees where we are. Nice and warm, very clear water because we haven't had much rain. where we are right now, 100 years ago, was land. It was known as Mile Point, and it stretched all the way from the north side of the bay about halfway across. But in 1927, apparently a huge storm took out the sandy ridge of sand where there were fishermen's huts. Oh, here we go, we've got some dolphins. Looking up, 1 o'clock. So 1 o'clock on our starboard side, a little bit up ahead. So now in Port Stephens, we socially distance with our dolphins. There is around Australia government regulations around distancing from marine mammals, seals, dolphins and whales. And with dolphins it's 50 metres, half the length of a football pitch. But because dolphins can be quite sociable, if they decide to come up a bit closer, we just keep our course and speed and let them play with us, and sometimes they will do that. And one of the things I've been wondering about is, because they haven't seen many boats out here for the last 4 or 5 weeks, I wonder whether they've been thinking, are they all right, those humans? They follow us around for 30 years and then all of a sudden we don't see them. Wonder what they're thinking. Bottlenose dolphins, scientists tell us, have the biggest brain in comparison with their body mass of any other mammal on the planet except us. Big-brained, dangerous Homo sapiens. But apparently only use about 10% of our brain, and the bit we do use usually gets us into a lot of trouble. So the bottlenose dolphin of Port Stephens are Tursiops hoduncus, so they're a slightly miniaturized version of their larger oceanic cousins, Tursiops truncatus. So these guys, in all other ways, are exactly the same. They move around in small social groups, known as pods or bands if they're female, or alliances if they're male. Well, looks like they're coming up to say good day. That's it. Zoom in. So we're going to just slowly cruise along with these guys. So a group of females with their calves. And we've had 6 calves born this summer. Most of the babies are born in the warmer months of summer, which seems to be by preference. We do occasionally see the odd winter baby, but the mums try to time the birthing so that it's easier on the calves in the warmer waters of summer. And there seems to be more fish around, particularly at this time of the year. There's lots of mullet. So there's 3 or 4 main groups of females in this port, and then several male alliances. Some are quite large. Wonder who we've got here. So the calves, they only ever give birth to 1 calf, never have twins. Females only have one nipple. So the calves are totally dependent upon mum for the first 18 months of their life. They're suckling milk, of course. These are warm-blooded, air-breathing mammals, just like us. Don't look like us, but they're not that much different. Some water.
Still breathing.
Yeah.
Roger, maybe get water.
Yeah, one of those little things of water down there. There's a cup on the sink, I think.
There might be some little bowly things in those drawers.
Okay, I think they've just gone behind us there for a moment. Looks like they're going to get some lunch around this sandbank here. This is a sandbar. It's known as Wayne's Bar. Wayne's Bar. We used to have an operator in the port called Wayne, and he put his boat up on this bar. Oh, there's another pot of dolphins over on our starboard beam there. Let's go and see who we've got over there. Very shallow, this area. We're sitting in 2 meters of water here on this sandbank. All right for Imagine, because we don't draw much water, but there'd be lots of boats that would be sitting on the bottom here at the moment. But it's a favourite spot for dolphins to fish because we're right in the entrance of the Mile River, and around these sandbanks is often where the sand whiting live, and that's one of the favourite foods of the Port Stephens dolphins. It's a little, very small bone sweet. Fish here. connection dropping out.
Yeah.
Is that there? Which is the for that one?
There's no aerial for it.
Oh,
So maybe get an aerial
yeah.
on a device like
Is
this.
there a plug we can put an aerial in? Oh yeah.
No, I don't know. This station runs from Earth.
Oh, okay.
You'll probably have to get a proper antenna, proper.
Yeah.
It's good to see. Like now we know.
Yeah. Yeah.
Where we.
See, you can't put it. I mean, my phone can reach
Yeah.
those aerials there generally.
Yeah. You might need a booster, an aerial booster.
Yeah, I have an aerial. I have to have a look.
bars, yeah.
You've got 2 bars, have you?
And that's Optus, and this is Telstra. This has got a.
Yeah.
This is only 3 bars. 4 bars. Telstra.
I got yeah, Telstra is good.
Right.
How much power?
Oh, actually, you just go straight over.
So we're fully out in the Humpback Highway here now. No sign of any whales around, but we are seeing a bit of splashing a long way ahead of us. But could be just surface fish. See, there's lots of sharks as well that push them up. This time of the year, most of the whites, the great whites, have gone south, but there's always sharks out off the coast here. You don't see many sharks because the fish are in the water and underneath us, not like dolphins. In the summer we do see hammerheads cruising along on the surface sometimes, but very seldom see sharks on the surface, apart from a few hammerheads. So we're going to head north now, so we're going north east. There's a muck bird, one of the cousins of our little bird behind us who's having a snooze. Still a few here. Most of them are already taken off and have gone north into the northern hemisphere. There are a few stragglers. Broughton Island right up ahead of us on the distant horizon. A little bit of extra breeze coming out of the estuary now, so we're picking up a nice breeze to sail by. So we're going to do a trip up around the islands and come back through close to Cabbage Tree Island, which is one of the magnificent islands off the port. Cabbage Tree Island is home to Australia's rarest and most endangered seabird. The tiny Gould's petrel flies in Cabbage Tree Island. It's the main nesting place for the Gould's petrels. Only 1 or 2 pairs that have been found nesting anywhere outside of that island.
Yeah, same way. Just thought I better make sure it still runs. Yeah, I just need to go and have a look, see what the noise is. So you got a noise already, have you? Oh, the motor. No, it's a little bit different, or I've forgotten one or the other. Very good. Now, you going out to see if there's any whales? No, I might turn around any second.
Condition, imagine.
There you go, head Frank.
Seems we're all doing a test run today.
Yeah, I've been watching the stream, and yeah, I just thought I better make sure it still runs and maybe drag it around, catch a fish.
Well, you're allowed to go fishing. Apparently it's exercise and feeding your family. I'm out here having a look for whales and dolphins. Had a couple of seals, but no whales yet, but it's perfect conditions out here.
Alright, well, no worries, I'm way around here.
Yeah, we're doing a shooting of first episode of Port Stephens Live, so we've had some great dolphins in the bay, and anyway, I'll let you know if there's anything else. Are you coming offshore?
Yeah, probably. If I look out there, whereabouts are you? Sure.
We're just off Bundlebar Island, about a mile southeast of Bundlebar Island right now, going north.
Alright, I might have a look down south then if you're north, if we go that way.
Yeah, there's two fur seals off the Bombora, off Point Stephens. Keep a look out for them. They're fishing and jumping around all over the place.
Yeah, no worries.
See you out here. Two of the other operators are testing their boats at the moment. Of course, you can't let a boat sit idle for very long. All the engine and hydraulic seals start to dry out, and then you get all sorts of trouble. It's like all those aeroplanes sitting on the tarmac. They've all got to be started every so often, and this is really good because we hadn't run Imagine once in the last 5 weeks, so it's never good for a boat to sit idle. Got to keep it moving. So even though we've got no passengers out here to see us today, hopefully you're getting a bit of a sense of what we do on these cruises. Looking. That's a big, wide open, empty horizon there. I'm sure we're going to find some dolphins sooner or later though. Yeah, we're heading that way, yeah. muttonbird in the water. If we were out here a month ago, there would have been hundreds of them all preparing to fly north. A massive stream of them. They fly one after the other in a huge long line. Many years ago when Roger and I were bringing old Goodwin back from Hawaii, we crossed this line of muttonbirds just to the east of Fiji when we were coming back from Hawaii by boat, and it's just this eternal long line. It was a black line on the horizon, and when we got there it was just end-to-end muttonbirds all flying down to Australia and New Zealand where they nest. Some 25 million muttonbirds are in Australia's waters during the summer months, nesting on islands like Broughton Island all the way down to the Bass Strait. They got their name because of the early colonial settlers saw the indigenous folk eating them, and so they thought, that's a good idea, let's have a taste. And apparently they taste a bit like mutton. That's where they got their name. They're very oily. Somebody once said to me, you boil them up in water with a stone in the bucket and then throw away the muttonbird and eat the stone. Going here. What do you say? We've got enough biscuits on board to take us to Queensland?
I don't think we're allowed to cross the border yet.
Oh, that's right, we can't cross the border. Okay. We're socially distanced from Queensland.
It's beautiful here.
Hey friend, what's that on? Tell me from this one.
What a day. So clear. Amazing, those mountain ranges inshore. Often we can't see them, although there has been a bit of burn off, I believe, since the fire ban was lifted. People are back burning, but it has been incredibly clear with no traffic, hardly any traffic on the Pacific Highway, and of course we're all bound at home gardening. There's only so much gardening you can do before you've got to go fishing. pick up some dolphins inshore if they're not out here. But how's your battery power?
Oh, everything's
We're
good.
charging.
Oh, okay, oh good. All right, so,
Dolphin's charging.
yeah, okay. So we're going to head inshore now and check out a hot spot for the common dolphin. Nothing out here so far, but the dolphins range all up and down the east coast of Australia. So we do have a couple of resident groups of common dolphin, as well as the 2 pods of bottlenose that I mentioned before. So we've got the Broughton Island pod of bottlenose. They tend to be inshore though along the beaches, and then the Newcastle pod. But out this way we generally see either oceanic bottlenose or the short-beak common dolphin, which we go swimming with. So looking. Perfect day for spotting, but the trouble is not many birds around to give us a clue. Most of the birds have gone back north now to their feeding grounds, but you never know, any moment we could see something.
What do you think about talking about dolphins?
Yeah, sure. So up in front of us is New South Wales' largest coastal island, called Broughton Island. And so large that when Captain Cook came past, he thought it was part of the mainland. But it's actually a group of islands, and there is a tiny fishing village in Esmeralda Cove that was built back in the 1800s, and still the cottages are there today. And it was established as a fishing island where the guys of the port would go out and stay on their huts and go fishing, and then they'd be picked up with their catch, which would then go off to the fish markets, mainly down to Sydney. So a variety of fish were caught there, snapper, and of course lobsters, which were the primary catch, because the lobsters were able to be delivered down to Sydney by ship alive and then sold at the fish markets. I believe they were worth about 6pence each. We're heading up to an area up towards Broughton where DPI Fisheries have been trialling fish farms out here. Not my favourite type of farm, but unfortunately for them it wasn't very successful. There was a huge gale that broke up some of the cages and let 20,000 kingfish go free, which was a bonanza for some of our local fishermen. Apparently you didn't even need a bait hook, just threw it in and they hurled themselves on it, desperate for something to eat. But Broughton Island, an ancient island, obviously part of the mainland many thousands of years ago, but now separated by a nautical mile of water. Very important place for our traditional owners, the Fingal tribe, part of the Warramai, used to, I believe, take some of the males over. There was an initiation site, a Bora ring on the island. And still today with fishermen, it's a great island. It is one of the few parts of the National Park Island where you can legitimately camp. You can book your camping spot online.
Start with grey hair stuff.
You can dive with grey nurse sharks. The Let's Go Dive and Feet First Dive both run dive tours out there, and Imagine runs tours out to the island, as does Moonshadow TQC. So the two big cruise companies in the bay, ourselves and Moonshadow TQC, both run tours to the island. Imagine partners with Aquamarine, and I believe they might be out here at some point. The red boat, the Red Flyer, heads out to Broughton daily in the summer in particular, taking people snorkeling and for a bit of a wander on the island. It's a fabulous island. Oh, here we go. Now up near that fishing boat, just in front of it, I'm seeing a bit of splashing, so it could be just fish, but it might have a few dolphins there. That's a commercial lobster vessel coming in from the gravel patch, picking up these catcher lobsters.
Oh, we might get a bit of takeaway. I wouldn't mind a bit of takeaway.
Bit of takeaway. That's it. Takeaway lobsters. That'll make a nice lunch. What do you think, Rog? Takeaway lobsters.
Actually, I've just organised some.
I heard that. Stuart was going off to get some for you. Russ.
Like take the guy.
Yeah, good.
Oh, he's going to be holding for it.
See those lobster traps on board. Port Stephens many years ago used to supply, I believe, up to 40% of all the lobster requirements of Sydney. I don't know if that's the case now, but certainly used to be. Still lots of lobsters here. I don't mind lobsters. Definitely seeing a bit more bird activity around here. Oh yes, I'm fairly certain we've got some dolphins in front of us. So there's a bit of a mix of mutton birds here, the short-tailed shearwaters, there's some wedge-tails, and a bit more splashing up ahead, so I think we might be in. That white bird over on our right sitting in the water is a Australasian gannet. Now they're good birds to see because they're indicators that there are fish around. He's a juvenile gannet. Most of those are born over the ditch in New Zealand waters and they come over to Australia to feed. Got a few Kiwi mates like that.
We love it.
Although we love them. Of course we do. we go. We've got a pod of dolphins over on our starboard side at 2 o'clock. Well, here we go. These are the fellas we've been looking. Big pods. Much bigger groups than the dolphins we see in the port. These are short-beaked common dolphin, and they'll travel in vast numbers. Sometimes we used to see pods of over 100,000 animals back a little while ago, but unfortunately a kill of pilchards that one of their primary foods, there was a virus got into the pilchard population, and we don't really see the giant pods, but still it's not uncommon to see a pod of 400 or 500 common dolphin. And they're around here somewhere. Here they come. The most sociable marine mammal we see around here are these little guys. We'll go back and have another look at them.
Sails. Thanks, just bringing the tails down.
No. Just going to head back and have another look. They're fishing. Probably over 100 dolphins in this group here. Of course you don't get to see all of them at once because some are on the surface, most are below. You'll see quite a few mutton birds sitting on the surface. Yeah, there's lots of them up ahead. Obviously there's quite a few fish here, attracting both the seabirds and the dolphins. to the bow. These guys are so interactive. Even when they're fishing, some will break away just to come and play with the boat. And when you're in the water with them, the sound is spectacular because they're chattering away all the time. We put up to 6 folk in the water at any one time with our dive master clipped to the mermaid line between the bows, and the dolphins swim side by side as we slowly move through the water. Sometimes the dolphins will even play dolphin football, where they'll grab a piece of seaweed and drop it in front of our swimmers and expect us to throw it back to them. Quite the reverse than we're used to with dogs.
Oh yeah, back on, back on.
Back on.
Oh, back off.
Is there any way that aerial can be elevated a bit? Well, I don't know which one he's using. That one? Yeah.
Not with that USB.
Is it back on?
No. Brent.
Unfortunately, we've lost reception.
Oh, back on.
Okay. Back on again.
Very on. No.
That port bow is just not working. It's just too far away. Is it just a USB? Is it just a USB cord? Because I have some USB cords.
No, it's not the cord.
Oh, okay. Have you? Okay. All right.
Here we go.
So being the first of our series, we're finding out all sorts of technical things that we have to iron out as we go. Here we go, another big pod just approaching us.
Wow, there's
Here they
hundreds.
come. There'll be 100 or so in this little group. On the bow, Rod. baby in there too. They travel in big groups. The males will often, and adults, take off and form hunting groups, but the main pod has mothers and calves, and they come back together every so often. So this is one of our resident groups. Big transient groups, as I say, can number thousands.
Machines Marine Rescue Foster, Victor Mike Romeo 218.
Yeah, they swim upside down sometimes. They are so cool. So these little guys never come into the port. They're always offshore. They don't seem to get on very well with their bottlenose cousins. They definitely have their own territories.
Buffering quite a bit. But, Brent, too far away. Back to you, darling.
Unfortunately.
Buffering quite
Buffering.
bad. Yeah, bring it back to you, Brent. That's back to you now. Nice dolphins on the bow, they're just not being seen very well. Oh, here we go. Hey guys. Well, there's so many back here, you might get better stuff back here. So bad, I'm gonna bring it back to you, though.
Okay.
I know. That's good.
They look wonderful.
That's really nice. It's tripping. It's like they're in slow motion. Come back, guys.
Yeah, it's just not working.
Come back.
Better come back.
Brent. Back to the water. Yeah, I lost it. Okay, back now.
Dolphins belong to a group of marine mammals known as cetaceans, and that includes whales, their bigger cousins, and porpoises, which we don't have that many porpoises around Australia. They're a much smaller type of dolphin, but they're categories. So dolphins, porpoises and whales are categories of an animal that shares a common ancestor. I say no blows out here indicating any whales, but there are always whales out to sea, but largely different types of whales, like sperm whales that are in the deeper oceanic waters feeding on squid out in the canyons.
Oh, yeah.
There's a jump. That was nice. So we'll put on a bit of speed and head into the islands in a minute. We'll go and have a look at Cabbage Tree Island, but we'll have one last look at these dolphins. They're heading in our direction.
Is this a good place to finish?
Yeah. Oh, this is fantastic to have so many escorts going along with us here. You can understand why sailors over hundreds, if not thousands of years have always revered the oceanic dolphins. They always seem to be playful and happy to see us as we travel along. We're part of the pod, and that's probably where we should leave it. Now, it's been a long, long program. And indeed, we wish you a wonderful, safe day with your social distancing. Get out on a day like today and do some walking and exercise. You're allowed to go for a swim now. And on the shores of Port Stephens, although we would normally see hundreds of people gathered on the beaches, there's not many. But it is.
Hundreds of dolphins, though.
But lots of dolphins.
Oh, and they're all over the other side.
There they go. And we'll say goodbye to our wonderful dolphins. We're part of the pod. Bye, guys. Bye. And they've got their aerial friends, the mutton birds. And it looks like they're happy to see us. Look at them. I've got to take a picture of this.
I don't think we should leave them just yet. They don't want to leave us.
That's it. Over and out from Imagine on Port Stephens Live.